Hey, welcome back to Midas Letter RAW, live. Anyways, do you want some news? Here's some goddamn news. Aphria Inc., TSX and NYSE listed APHA announced they've acquired global preferred rights to license, manufacture, distribute, and sell rapid dose therapeutics Inc. quick strip delivery technology. This technology provides a smoke-free alternative for cannabis consumers. Aphria intends to begin production of the oral thin strips at its production facilities in Leamington, Ontario in the new year. Aphria has a 9.7% interest in rapid dose therapeutics after completing a private placement in August for total gross proceeds of $5.4 million. Aurora Cannabis Inc., trading on the TSX and NYSE under symbol ACB, and Choom Holdings, trading on the CSE under symbol CHOO, announced that they've completed a private placement of a debenture in the principal amount of $20 million. It's a convertible debenture into common shares of Choom at a conversion price of $1.25 per common share with a 4-year maturity date. With this investment from Aurora, Choom intends to accelerate its retail channel expansion in the Canadian adult use market. Aurora has also secured the right to acquire up to 40% of Choom at $2.75 per common share. Radiant Technologies, another Aurora investee, TSX venture-listed RTI, announced the development of a new manufacturing facility of over 100,000 square feet in Edmonton, Alberta. The new facility will be dedicated to cannabinoid extraction and is expected to be completed in 2020. The new facility will also allow Radiant additional extraction capacity in order to serve its partners, including Aurora Cannabis. Radiant has also advanced its plans to construct a large-scale cannabis processing facility in Germany. Designs for the European facility are focused on industrial-scale delivery of CBD derivatives and formulations manufactured in the EU GMP environment. Aurora-related Australis Capital, trading on the CSE under symbol AUSA, announced that they've completed their previously announced investment in Body and Mind Inc., CSE-listed BAM, B-A-M-M, and the acquisition of Rhythm Technologies Inc. We talked to BAM CEO Leonard Clough here 2 weeks ago, where he discussed their new Ohio licenses and expanding Nevada operations. Australis bought 16 million units of BAM at 40 cents per unit for gross proceeds of $6.4 million. Australis also acquired Rhythm, a private company that has developed technologies dealing with advanced heart analysis and tracking circadian rhythm mapping. Don't have a clue what that means. They will tell us. The deal consists of $800,000 in cash payments, an aggregate of 1.742 million common shares of Australis, and aggregate Canadian dollars, $200,000 in a promissory note. Origin House, formerly Canna Royalty, trading now under symbol CSE listed OHO, announced they have plans to release their financial results for the third quarter ended September 30th, 2018 on Wednesday, November 28th, 2018. The company's recently seen a rapid increase in their stock price, trading up more than 60% since last week. Full disclosure, I also bought some Origin House this morning. Valens Growworks, CSD-listed VGW, announced they've entered into a multi-year cannabis extraction services agreement with G-Tech Holdings, TSX venture-listed GTEC. Under that agreement, G-Tech will ship bulk quantities of dried cannabis to Valens for an initial 4-year term. Valens will receive and process the cannabis on a fee-for-services basis into cannabis oil derivatives as required by G-Tech before shipping the product back to G-Tech for final processing and sale. That's all the news. Now here's my good buddy, Special Head.
Welcome everyone to Midas Letter Live, Midas Letter RAW.
Midas Letter Pornography. Midas Letter Cooking Show.
There's Rawhide and then there's Raw Live.
Midas Letter CBDs. Midas Letter Cannabis.
Lots of action in the space today. Lots of big movers.
Are you kidding me? It's on fire.
Well, there you go.
And then it traded
you
sideways.
Called the bottom. I hope you were buying at the bottom.
Well, you know me, Ed. I prefer to buy high and sell a little higher.
You wanted to wait till there's a lot of poop in your pants before you bought any.
Well, that's just it. I've always got a load on, don't I? How was your weekend, Ed? Well, you know, I like to keep my life exciting. You gotta scare the bejesus out of yourself here and there.
Hey, Zeus.
It's not like we're short of showers and fresh panties.
Well, I think, I think as this rally builds a head of steam, You know, I noticed TGOD hit 4.25.
Yeah, TGOD.
Wasn't a very good short at 290.
No, I actually bought it this morning. I sold a little too soon, but I made a couple of grand on it.
Pocket pin money.
Walking
around.
I can afford to buy you drinks tonight. Put it that way.
Well, I'm on the wagon again.
Oh, hey, so am I.
Okay.
Well, let's go out and have some soda pops.
No, I'm heading back where it's safe, because if I stick around, you know what's going to happen.
What's going to happen?
Fall off the wagon.
Why are you going to fall off the wagon if you have the moral support of yours truly to sort of, back you up?
Is that the immoral supporter or the moral support?
The amoral.
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 Oh, I like it.
Amoral.
No morals.
No morals, moral free. I thought you might like to talk a little bit about what's going on in the cannabis space today, besides just giving it a, bit of
I think we should look at some specific winners and comment. I think people are bottom fishing. People are looking, because they're starting to see that their courage is getting bigger.
Their courage is getting bigger?
I don't know.
You sure that's all that's getting bigger? Looking at the Midas Letter indexes here now, we're sort of
mixed,
highly indicative. No, they're uniformly
5%,
up
3%,
strongly.
5%. Yeah. Okay.
So you know what? Interestingly enough, the Dow is up, the S&P is up, oil is down, commodities are off. Marijuana is up.
Little correlate. We talked about the correlation last week.
Well, we saw a correlation when the S&P fell apart, so did the cannabis sector, but one has to ask if that is actually a legitimate correlation, or is that just coincidence at this point?
You know what? Look at Tilray. I think Tilray at one point was around $90 today. I could be mistaken, but I'm sure it's over 100.
Yeah, it opened the day at 99. I was watching Tilray.
And went a little lower, I think down to about 95, 96.
I stopped watching as soon as it went down. That's where I lost interest. Anyways, but let's take a look at some of our large cap friends here. Canopy Growth was trading sideways all morning, 48.49 all morning, and then suddenly, boom, takes off, adds 289. No real catalyst
good
for that.
6%.
Yeah.
Well,
Aurora.
just coming from an extremely oversold. Like, when they're oversold and it looks scary, you got to hold your breath.
Jump in.
I'm putting in a bid.
I'm going fishing.
And
Don't try to stop me.
Jesus, I know. Look at Auxly up 7 cents, 7%.
Auxly, that thing's still in the business? I like to take the piss out of Auxly.
TGOD, though. TGOD's up 20%.
Yeah, you know why? Do you know why TGOD's up, Ed? These guys know how to promote a stock. They know how to find a home when there's an overhang, and looks like they got it tied up, because there's no way that they've spent sufficient money on promotion to trade 13 million shares in a single day, is there?
It traded 30 million shares yesterday.
30 million shares on a Sunday?
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
That's pre-market.
I couldn't even find the damn place where it was trading.
Was that pre-market or way post-market? Hangover market.
This the real big support on that chart, if you're looking at TGOD, would be.
We'll go back to that. Sorry.
I think it's.
We'll try to go back to that.
Yeah,
there we go.
$5. I think at $5, because that's where it bounced the last time. Hung around there between sort of August and September. Now, as we get back there should be quite a bit of resistance at around 5. It gets through 5, $6. Probably going to make an assault to the 7.5 level, which is back in June.
Yeah.
Should probably be using my little.
Yeah. Here,
should we give it a shot?
Yeah. Let's here. I'll talk while you get it set up. Now.
You talk, I'll listen.
I wanted to point out a couple of things here that we've got coming up this week.
Okay.
One of the things we're going to look at is TFSAs, your
tax-free
savings account.
Yes,
There's some question as to how do you know whether your stock investment is going to be eligible for your TFSA or your RRSP or your RISP. How do you figure it out? How do you know? And you don't want to waste a bunch of time doing due diligence thinking, oh, I'm going to be clever. I'm going to buy this for my RRSP or my TFSA, and then have your broker say, no, doesn't qualify, sorry.
No, I think if it's listed on a Canadian exchange, I think it qualifies.
Incorrect. Incorrect.
I'm learning something new.
Incorrect. You cannot, like, for example, YOLO, which recently came to trade. CSE listed YOL.
Because their business is all in the U.S.? Is that the
That's not the reason that was given by the broker who I queried. It simply said that the exchange may choose to qualify some stocks as eligible and others as ineligible according to criteria which they may or may not specify. So the bottom line is,
right?
Typically, larger cap, higher than $1 a share stocks, non-penny stocks. Penny stocks tend to be more subject to not being eligible for your TFSA, whereas stocks that are above $1 a share tend to be more eligible. Now that makes almost no sense, but we are talking about the regulators, so not surprised. Anyways, also in the regulatory environment, I wanted to point out that, here we've been talking about the importance of using stop losses to protect yourself from the downside. Turns out,
Can't do it on the
CSE, you cannot deploy stop loss in your online trading. I just found this out today. And so I don't know what that makes the CSE in terms of a real stock exchange, but I mean, why wouldn't you be able to deploy stop? It's like, why can't you? Why not? Is there a technological sort of disconnect between CSE capabilities and the rest of the global stock market? Or has the CSE found a reason to not permit stop loss implementation?
You know what? Can I offer a?
I'm waiting for a pearl of wisdom here. I'm looking for a pearl of wisdom.
Back in the day, say, because this has been the way it's been for quite a while. I think that some of the issues on that exchange were so thin that if you get a stop loss in there and you don't put a limit, you may put a stop loss in, say, at let's say you're long and you put a stop loss in at $1, and there's a huge wave of selling, and it goes right through your price, and you get a fill at 75 cents because you forgot to put a limit with that stop loss. The exchange has gotten to be much more liquid, much more volume.
Yeah.
It's much more, maybe the people that run that exchange should be watching this show and heeding our advice. And
I'm sure somebody will whisper in their ear that Jim and Ed took the piss out of the CSE for their stupid stop loss inabilities. Just saying.
Yeah.
Anyways, you know what? I know the guys at the CSE. I'm going to send them an email and say, WTF, MF, why is this not possible? And we'll see what kind of response we get.
Yeah.
So you're talking about Green Organic Dutchman having the potential to go through $7. But is this where the most fertile ground is on a day trading basis right now, Ed? Given that the sector is evidently in the throes of a broad-based bit of enthusiasm.
Yeah, you know, this stock, I mean, it got over 10, I think, and then dropped all the way to 260. And on that day, you can see on the volume chart, that was the biggest one-day volume, 31 million shares Friday. Boy, if you wanted to see a bottom, and I don't, again, we got to be careful here. We don't get double entendre all over the place, but there's a bottom.
Right.
It looks like a bottom to me and a change in direction. So until we start to see evidence of a change in direction, I'm going to say, the bottom's in for a while. And if it's in that one, maybe it's in several others. And look at Charlotte's Web today.
Charlotte's Web, by way of disclosure, own it.
You do?
Yeah. Bought it in the IPO on the president's list, no less.
And what price did you pay for that?
$7.
And you still own it?
I still own it.
At 19?
17. It was 17.
You get
Did it go up to 19 today?
You don't think you should take some money off the table?
Nope. I'm in for 25 on that one.
I think that just the chart, I would think a little prudence. I mean, it was 2 weeks ago. It was 950. Not even 2 weeks ago. Now it's 17, and you don't think.
Why? Maybe I know something that you don't. Like?
Insider information?
No! Hey, whoa, no!
What could you know that I don't know?
Maybe something sector specific that is going to make Charlotte's Web a lot more attractive than it is today. Maybe there's some changes coming down the pike in the old legislative process.
Coming down the pipe or coming down the pike?
It's the pike, actually.
It is the pike. I know.
Yeah, but people say the pipe.
I say the pipe.
Coming down the pipe.
I know you can smoke the pipe.
Put that in your pipe and smoke.
Look at this little baby here, up 95 cents. OH.
I bought that this morning.
That's Ohio.
$9.50.
That's Ohio.
Look at that. Pop! Then what?
You're going to need a new shirt.
I need new pipes.
You need a bigger sleeves.
I know. I got extra.
Organigram's
strong.
up 45 cents. This whole sector is flying.
Well, this is one of those days, Ed, where you could have gotten up in the morning, you could have put all of the stocks in the Canadian exchange on a dartboard and thrown a dart with a blindfold on, whatever one you hit it would have gone up today. Is that true? Here's how we find out. We're going to go look at the Midas Letter indexes again. We're going to go back one here, and let's see here. Cannabis index, let's see what stocks are down today. So this is one of those days where you do your qualitative assessment and you say, you know what, if you can't get a rise in this market, then there's something wrong with you and I'm going to put you on my shit list.
Yeah, but some of them have started moving.
Okay, so here's the shit list for today.
Okay, let's take a look.
Leviathan Cannabis, lost 7 cents, down 47.
Well, I bet you there's lots of shares outstanding there. A lot of volume?
Well, let's take a quick look. 94.5 million shares outstanding, volume of 231,000. Any news today? An update. Last update was announced on October 18th. So you know what will happen today? On a day when stocks are flying generally, is people who are in these losers will sell them in order to participate in the general lift that's happening. Because when they see a stock that's not doing anything on a day where everything pretty much is moving, that's maybe the stock you don't want to be in, at least as a short-term trader. Now, if you're a long-term investor and you bought it because of some long-term fundamental development that may be as yet unfolding, that's a different case, of course. But, you know, for a day trader, it's like, I'm so gone from all these stocks. Let's see if I own any of these. Oh, darn, JUJU, there's the one I still own.
Well,
damn, down.
You know what? Along the lines of what you're saying, I think, you know, if you're going to trade, stick with the ones that seem to get a bid when markets turn. Like TGOD's, obviously. I mean, you don't have to love it.
Nope.
But this is about the ride, right? You want a technical.
Well, you're either a trader or you're an investor. Investor typically holds for 3 to 5 years, expecting a general increase in the value of the company that would be reflected in the stock. A trader doesn't give a shit about the company. Just is buying it for the day based on the momentum of the technicals or from a rumor, but the guy's going to be gone by the end of the week, maybe even by the end of the day, maybe even by lunchtime. Now, while we're on the subject of being gone by lunchtime.
Generally, shorting's that kind of trade, right? Like, you know, unless you have extremely deep pockets and you're...
Well, you're whatever kind of trader you are. You can be a...
Kronos is up quietly.
Kronos is up slightly.
Yeah.
Like Rivers is up slightly.
Yeah. Well, again, I don't like it when, you know, they're selling those issues at really discounted prices. And
look what's up the most on the CSE.
Isodial.
Isodial, they say.
I can't never say it.
I know. It took me forever, but then
Isodial.
I had 3 directions. Isodial. You got to say it like from the south, Ed. Isodial.
Isodial.
Want to buy some Isodial? There you go. You're going to pay a lot more now. 45 cents, 21.43 cents. Koyos Beverages, 51 cents, 9%. We're talking to these guys about potentially becoming a client and helping them out with their messaging. Because clearly, at 51 cents, they're sucking hind tea it. Anyways, Cannabis International ordinary shares, $1.78. What do those guys do? Have we had them on?
Don't.
You don't know, do you?
Don't know.
Let's take a look at their press releases. I like the name, Cannabis. Binding letter of agreement to acquire 100% of Colombia-based Canopy La Finca Interactiva. Aracna. That's hilarious.
It's a spider, isn't it? Aracna?
Yeah, basically La Finca. Finca is essentially a plantation. Never mind. We're not gonna go into Spanish lessons right now, Ed. Nice try. But interesting stock. Could have bought it a few days ago for $1.50.
Look at this. Look at this move. Yeah, I personally, if I own this one, and let's say I was thinking about buying it, I think I'd wait and see if this gap got filled.
Yeah.
So, you know, here we are. It's up, to $1.75? Maybe it's going to pull back to the 150 level and fill that gap.
Yeah. Yeah, look at B. Lee, Planet 13. Look at that one, still on fire. Up 41 cents today, 15%. These guys have what they call the largest cannabis experience in Las Vegas, but still, let's take a look at this one.
Look at this, holy smokes.
But look at the valuation on this, 62 million shares at that's 190 million bucks.
Is there a business? I mean, what kind of business do
There's
they have?
no business yet. They've opened a store. They're putting in an experiential thing.
Here's a very interesting, you see this last candle, which is in the new high territory, but it's coming back. I guess I should do it on the, try and do it on the.
Yeah, why don't you get ready for that? And
that's the problem.
what's the problem?
It takes too long.
Well, just until
but
you
the
get
point
fast
is,
at it.
if this thing,
Here, give me that sucker.
here,
Give me that. What the hell?
PLTH.
Thanks, Ed. On what exchange?
Yeah, see? If you're so smart, why are you asking me?
CNX.
If I knew, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Okay, CN, is that the Canadian Securities Exchange?
Now let's see. Is your NDI up? No, it is not. Okay. You got it. Okay. So
PLTH. Well, it's up there.
now we just tap on over here, or what do? We tap this thing. Now, there we go. There's a red line. Okay. Let's undo that. Oh, how do you do that? Undo.
Yeah.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Well,
Okay.
show's over.
So let's go to the 3-month look here. Oh, no, that's right. Now it's because it's a screenshot. You can't do anything.
There you go.
Okay. So what you have to do is you have to go back here, and first you have to go to the 3-month look, and now you go to the tap. Bob's your uncle. Tap. Oh no, you go like that. Boom. There it is. A screenshot. Okay. Look at Ed. Draw till your heart's content.
Okay.
Squiggly lines.
So what I wouldn't like to see is I wouldn't like to see this number if it closes above that high, and so here we are through it by a little bit, okay, but we got a big wick. Whenever we got
what? Big wick? Right.
Big W. Big W, not the big D, but the big W.
All right. What? Jesus, Ed,
But
what are you?
Look, we had a big wick here,
Yep.
and it's still next day surged ahead. So these aren't hard and fast always rules, but there's definitely a sell-off there. We moved sideways. This is a great bottom in here because we had a through the Bollinger Band, big tail. And sure enough, look at this thing. This thing's flying a bit. I mean, this is maybe one of those things with the big volume here. Mm-hmm. Okay. Looking could be very interesting here, and there's not a lot of shares in this. There you go.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the company, but again, the charts. This is one where if it fails here tonight, I'd say be careful. If it closes strong, we may get a continuation. Easy for me to say.
Okay. Well, now talking to our audience here, Anthony Alvarez says, James, can you talk about the deal Chemicist did today, buying the Colombian cannabis company? I cannot because I know nothing about it. Anyways, Anthony, we will
Maybe
reach
I know
out.
something about it.
Do you?
No. Well, you could ask.
Well, I would have thought you would have said something when we were talking about Chemicist.
No, I'm more of a technical.
I see.
Oh, wait,
a technical genius?
No.
Anyways,
No, I wouldn't
Anthony,
say
just to let
genius.
you know, we're going to reach out to Chemicist and invite them in for a conversation to find out, the details of the deal, what it means for the future of the company. Let's see. Who else? Can we talk about the TerraTech and Golden Leaf Holdings deal?
Yeah,
Don't know about that one either, Anthony.
Well, Brandon was telling me about that earlier. He says that's a big deal. Now, that's the guy. Remember we had the guy on from the States?
Oh, you know what? We're going to have Brandon on shortly to talk about that deal.
Why don't we have him on now?
Well, because we're going to have him on. We have to move the furniture around and put a microphone on him. Actually, and then you need to move over here, and we'll both interrogate Brandon about that deal.
You know what?
That's a good idea.
Have you got the handcuffs?
I've got a handcuff. Whoa, he's one on the home team.
Okay.
There's no need to handcuff him.
Well,
he does this voluntarily. Boy, oh boy.
Home team.
Yeah, the home team. Us. Midas Letter peeps.
I got it.
I'm
with you.
Your snide little casting of aspersions isn't going to work here, Milewski.
Okay.
Anyways, the audience is saying that they're really enjoying the back of your head right now.
Okay. well, maybe I should keep showing it to them.
Well, I think there's a degree of sarcasm in there.
Okay, an element of sarcasm?
An element of surprise. Now, one of the other stocks we're going to talk about in a few minutes, Ed, is going to be called Canopy Growth Corp. So if you wanted to get Canopy Growth Corp up there in your thing,
okay.
So X out that one and then see if you can get her going. If not, I will assist you. We're doing live technical support for Ed here today.
There's weed. Okay, there's weed. Okay. Now.
Wait a sec. Let me see this. Okay, we need to get rid of this column here because, this is confusing. This is the ownership of Tilray. Why is that there? What the hell? Okay, you know what we want to do is we want to take that. How do we get rid of that column? Let's see. Anyways, we'll come back to that.
Is that like column Fior?
Hey, you know what? I was talking to Todd Harrison today about the.
Were you?
About the you know who Todd CB1 Capital. He's a smart guy. He invests in. He has a lot of the things that we invest in, which is crazy. From this vast distance between here and New York City, he is buying the same stuff. Anyways, Todd Harrison from CB1 Capital was in a little bit a while ago, and here's what he had to say. Hey, welcome back to Midas Letter Live. My guest in this segment, returning, is founding partner, chief investment officer of CB1 Capital Management, Todd Harrison. Todd, welcome back.
Thank you, James. Always a pleasure to see you.
Todd, it is a pleasure in my case as well. Now, we here are on the eve of the midterm elections here. How is that going to affect the cannabis industry and cannabis stocks more broadly in the United States and Canada?
I mean, we think it's going to be a positive. We've been saying this for some time, and I think you and I spoke about this before we started taping, that for some time I thought that President Trump would actually decrim before the midterms for the obvious reasons that 93% of Americans support medical cannabis, medical marijuana. And this is also, from a political standpoint, this is probably the most populist issue of our generation. So certainly a populist president would want to get a hold of it. But we think that, what we're going to see tomorrow is going to speak volumes about the American appetite for getting their hands on God's medicine. And certainly we think Michigan in particular will tell a broader tale in terms of what it could portend for U.S. legislation.
Sure. So then, in terms of at the state level, do you think that there's going to be any changes as a result of voting tomorrow at the state level?
Well, there's 4 states that are up. It's Michigan and North Dakota and Utah and Mizzou. Are all up. Some of those are medical, some of those are recreational. But again, I think we're going to see more of the same in 2019. Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, the Eastern Seaboard. We call it the inside out uptake as well as the outside in globalization. So it's seemingly set up to meet on the borders of the United States of America. But we, again, think that that's going to change. I don't think you see John Boehner out there hawking stock picks for cannabis companies unless there's decrim on the horizon. So we're paying pretty close attention to what's going to go on in the next couple of weeks.
Sure. What do you think the chances are that President Trump might actually undertake an executive order to deprohibit cannabis at the federal level, just unilaterally?
We thought that could happen, maybe even as a way to keep some people away from the polls ahead of tomorrow. But obviously that does not happen. And you heard some rumblings about how this is going to, decrim is coming after the midterms. I don't know. I mean, anytime I've tried to discount what this president would do, it's sort of been a lesson in humility. But I think, if you look back at the broader trends from a political standpoint, this is really the last bipartisan issue, maybe ever. Right? I mean, you got 93% of the constituency supportive of it. But even if the political process continues to get bogged down, and even if the UN potentially, continues to drag its feet, here at CB1, we're stopped out against the efficacy. I mean, we think this is going to be, medicine across the spectrum for a wide range of conditions. So we're content to let the FDA sort of play through here because we feel pretty good about where it's going to end up.
Sure. Todd, I've noticed that in several of the last sessions, the top traders in the cannabis complex have all been U.S. companies, U.S. operating companies trading in Canada. And to me, that seems to sort of signify that there's a real rising tide of capital coming into the market, in the cannabis market, through the Canadian markets. Is that your observation as well? And what do you think's driving that sort of incremental acceptance of investing in cannabis despite the sort of federal taboo?
Well, I think actually paradoxically, it's because of the federal taboo. I mean, there's a lot of institutions that won't touch U.S. names because of the Schedule 1 status of cannabis. So, we always talk about the four arbitrages of our thesis. There's one of time versus policy, price versus institutional participation is the second, perception, getting well versus getting high, the third, and liquidity from an investment standpoint, the fourth. But focusing on that price arbitrage, if you look at the front page holders of a lot of these Canadian majors, you're going to see the Putnams and the Vanguards and Fidelities. A lot of the big boys are out there. You don't see that in the U.S. names. So we do think that migration will happen. Now, what I do think is getting lost on a lot of investors out there is that as soon as the U.S. decrims, you're going to see Canopy and Aphria and all the rest of them turn buyer, right? So Canada is going to be a way to play U.S., right? But it's just not there yet. But I don't think that you can really justify the valuations in a lot of these Canadian majors unless you're going to make the case that they're going to go out and make accretive deals, right? So we think that's all in front of us. We think there's a pretty significant shift of ownership that's occurring right now, and it's facilitated by the 40 to 50% drops that we've seen in a matter of weeks, right? Since I was last on top ticking the entire cannabis space, but we're down about 40% in a lot of these names, and we think that's all part of the process to transfer ownership from the retail holders to institutional hands. And we think that's going to be a pretty significant theme over the next 5-10 years.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that with federal deprohibition that there's going to be a land rush, so to speak, from Canada to the U.S.?
Sure. Yes, I do. And I think it's smart, right? I mean, they've got the currency in their share price, right? So they could turn buyer. And we think a lot of those relationships have already been formed. There's been a lot of courting, a lot of maybe behind the scenes sort of conversations that are going on here. But certainly, we think the fangification, if you will, the fangification of the U.S. operators is going to unfold in the next, call it, couple months, right? You see all these IPOs coming to market. These are the leaders. They'll join iAnthus, which we think is the leader on the U.S. side, but certainly Green Thumb and there's a few others. Trulieve, we have positions in these names. But ultimately, a lot of talk about the share overhang. There's a lot of private stock that's going to come, lockup stock, we call it on Wall Street, that's going to come free. And this is all part of the process of transitioning ownership from the private hands to the institutional hands. So we think that's all natural. We'll figure out valuation and things like that going forward. But the table that's being set now is going to be used for a feast, I think, for the next decade.
Sure. Okay, so fangification is an interesting concept to me. Are you suggesting that we're going to see these billion-dollar companies become multi-billion-dollar companies in short order?
Well, I don't know about the order. I mean, certainly, and we always tell the story about how for everybody who's buying Canopy at 38, hoping it goes to 68, to somebody who owns it at 38 cents who really doesn't care at this point. And certainly we think that process is going to play through on the U.S. side, on the Australian side, through Europe. I mean, for everybody who's talking about how the cannabis bubble has popped, seems to be forgetting that you have entire continents coming online, right? Africa, Asia. I mean, these are all now just coming to the table. So this is a long global tail that we're talking about. But yes, I do think from a fangification standpoint, you're going to have maybe the 5, 6, 7 leaders on the overall. And I think that'll be part U.S., part Canada at the end of the day. But it's going to be a footprint across the world. And we think through that lens, near-term valuation discrepancies aside, we think the best is yet to come for a lot of these names that are coming to market.
Wow, that's great. So what do you make of, for example, the UK? Let's take that as an example. Six weeks ago, they were saying never, cannabis never. Now they're saying cannabis yes for medical reasons. I mean, that's 80 million person market strong, somewhere like that. So, the companies that get in there and actually get licenses and start selling cannabis in the UK market, do you think those are the potential to become like the next Tilrays in the UK scenario?
I don't know if you want to become the next Tilray. And I'm just, I think that's sort of, put that conversation to the side. But what I will say is we do believe that there's going to be a bifurcation. And we talked about this the last time I was on the show. On the one side, you'll have the nutraceuticals, you'll have the beverages, you'll have the consumer packaged goods, and certainly wellness, right? That's wellness. A lot of people who consider themselves adult use or recreational, we think are actually medical usage, but self-medicating because of the Schedule 1 nature of cannabis for the last 90 years. But on the one side, you'll have wellness sort of in air quotes. On the other side, you're going to have wellness through more of a clinical lens, right? And this is something that, since I was last on, we were out at CanMed out at UCLA with a lot of the leaders in the field of on the forefront of the medicine. And the points that were all made were all valid, right? If you have somebody in your family who's genuinely sick and who needs medicine, you're not going to go to a dispensary and have some guy, cuff the market with this strain or that strain. You're going to go to through the route where you're going to get it from your doctor, prescribed by your doctor. It's going to go through insurance. You're going to get it at a pharmacy, and it's going to be consistent, and it's going to be pure, and it's going to have the same standardization as the last batch that you took. So this whole process, we do believe, from a medical efficacy standpoint, indication by indication, over the next decade, you're going to see this migrate from drugs from state dispensaries to medicine prescribed by doctors covered by insurance. But certainly, there's going to be room for both markets ultimately.
Mm-hmm. So if you were to make a call from a global perspective, which one do you think is where the bigger money is going to be, recreational or medical?
Ooh, that's a tough call. We're going to focus primarily, for us, we like the medical side of the equation. We think that that's really the untapped market, right? Everybody seems to understand the cannabis trade, or at least they think they do, insofar that maybe this isn't an end product cannabis flower, but an ingredient in and of itself that will ultimately go in the end product, such as the consumer packaged goods, the beverages, and the nutraceuticals. But we think from, our in-house mantra is follow the science. We think if you follow the science, it's going to lead to remarkable revolutions in the way diseases are treated. And I'm not talking about masking the symptoms of a disease. I'm talking about addressing the underlying condition, right? The inflammation-triggered diseases. I mean, this is really something that I think people are offsides. The medical community, certainly Western medicine, when we tell them our thesis about how this is going to disrupt healthcare, we get a lot of funny looks still, and that's a good thing for our thesis. People are still not believing that cannabis is actually wellness, that it's actually efficacious, and that it actually is going to do something remarkable for our country and for the world.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that the industrial hemp is making broad inroads now? It's legal in 50 states. You're now allowed to ship CBD cross borders across 50 states as long as it's derived from industrial hemp as opposed to marijuana. Now, I find that remarkably naive and sort of misleading, because no matter how you slice it, the industrial hemp plant and the marijuana plant is essentially cannabis sativa. And to say that you're only going to allow distribution of CBD products from industrial hemp is disingenuous at best, because if you extract the CBD from a low THC plant and concentrate it to 30 milligrams per milliliter, or you extract it from a 15 milligram THC plant, then it's essentially the same thing. So, it strikes me that
I'm shocked that you would suggest that you would mention the U.S. government and disingenuous policy in the same breath. But let's think about this, right? In 2016, if you go back and you read the DEA's letter about why they didn't reschedule cannabis, it was brilliant on their part. They took political cover. They said, it's not our purview to say whether there's medical efficacy. That's the FDA's purview. If and when they demonstrate efficacy, we will reschedule cannabis, right? And this was in 2016. They went out of their way in that letter to highlight potential evolutions in the childhood epilepsy market. And sure enough, we've seen now Epidiolex pass in June, and the Schedule 5 from the DEA more recently. Yet cannabis is still a Schedule 1. So why is this? And I think ultimately just follow the money, right? The only way the U.S. government could tax this is if it goes to the FDA, and I think indication by indication that's exactly what will happen. But we do see a grand bargain on the horizon. I just can't speak to when that's going to happen.
Sure. All right, Todd. Well, very insightful as usual. We're going to leave it there for now and come back to you in due course. Thank you very much for your participation today.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Hey, welcome back. What did you think of Todd Harrison? That's my back, Ed. This is my back, too. Feel free to kiss it. No, just kidding.
That's your backside.
Anyways, Brandon Colwell is here, our friend, and actually I'm feeling like you're a relative now from Follow the Money Group. We've come to have new respect for your Follow the Money thesis, because we've been following the money, and it's led us to more money.
It's great, isn't it?
Is that why you guys picked that name?
100%. And also, you don't have to stick into cannabis or into mining or into anything. You could do whatever you
You're
want.
sector agnostic?
You could do everything.
You're all about the money.
Yep. Follow it.
It's all about the money for you,
Just
Brandon,
follow
isn't it? It's just all about the money.
isn't
There's some love
moving,
in there. There's
if
some
money isn't moving, why try and be a leader? Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Don't
There you go.
lead the money.
Don't
because
lead
you don't
the
have
money.
enough money to lead.
No, the market doesn't care about you, Ed.
Well, that was personal. We were being very broad before that. We just went personal into
The market
market.
doesn't care about you either,
I'm
Brandon.
sad.
Oh, I know that. My portfolio knows that too.
Exactly. So anyways, before we get too much further, I wanted to address one of our viewers' questions.
Yes.
And this viewer, whose name was Anthony Alvarez, he wanted to ask me about the significance of ChemSys acquisition of the Colombian company, whose name I now forget and can't pronounce. I basically lost track.
I thought he
here we
asked
go.
the other question.
So that one I don't know about either.
No,
Is the
he asked
TerraTech.
about the question. There's somebody asked a question about what you were telling me about.
Earlier we were talking TerraTech and Golden Leaf Holdings.
TerraTech was the gentleman we invited from New York and said,
Oh, that wasn't the ChemSys deal.
No.
Okay, so
But
tell
with
me
that
about
one-
the TerraTech deal.
Well, it's
yeah, because
interesting
somebody asked about that too.
Because the
Well,
TerraTech
the same
deal,
guy. It was Anthony Alvarez.
It's the
says,
same guy
James,
going
can you
both.
talk about the
One
Just
TerraTech?
listing it off. Eh?
One
2, 3,
question
4,
per
5,
show,
6, 7.
please.
No, as many questions as you like.
As many questions as you
The
like,
more
please.
questions you ask, the
We'll
less
only
we have
answer
to
one
think
of
about
them.
what to say.
We'll pick which one we
Tell
like
us,
the
tell
most.
us, tell us about
Okay,
that
tell us about the
transaction.
TerraTech and Golden Leaf Holdings deal. What happened?
So it just came out, and it's interesting because this is now we had Ianthus and MPX Bioceuticals come together. Now we're having TerraTech and Gold Leaf Holdings.
So TerraTech is buying Golden Leaf?
Correct. They're going to be the parent company. So they're going to go in. It's going to amalgamate into TerraTech.
Have they done any due diligence on Golden Leaf yet?
I don't know. And I invested in Golden Leaf when it was 24 cents a
Did it
year and a
go
half
up?
ago. I got out in 40s during that rise. I was
Wow.
really happy
Wow.
after it was like completely red for the longest time.
Good for you.
But their basis, their company was great. Unfortunately, Don, it was the old CEO of Cara Foods, used to be the CEO of Golden Leaf Holdings. A lot of people feel he didn't do a good job, unfortunately, and you could see it in the share price.
Well, yeah, that's what happens when you hire a CEO from a billion-dollar company who comes in and treats the treasury as if it'll stay full.
Yeah.
And it doesn't.
It does not.
But actually, I happen to know that Golden Leaf's holdings go way further back than
They do.
than Don. It's always been a problematic company starting from the get-go. Like when the first listing statement was published, when it went public on the CSE, there were some egregious share positions in there.
Really?
in the
Didn't know
private
that
co.
early then.
Oh, it's just one of those ones that it took me years before I could even bring myself to talk about it, and then it was only to abuse it.
Yeah, well, the turning point for them, I think, was when they bought out Chalice Farms. And they brought on the CEO, I've got his name here because I
Yeah.
like to read things,
We
and I
had
always
him
forget, William Simpson.
Oh.
He's now the CEO of Golden Leaf Holdings.
Right.
So they bought out Chalice Farms, and Chalice Farms, I believe, was in Oregon, if I'm saying that if I'm remembering correctly. But he was already thriving there, and they bought them out, and he ended up actually replacing Don as the CEO, and I think they've done really well under him. They have a lot of shares outstanding, but at the same time, they have a lot of reach in these different areas. So Golden Leaf Holdings, and they're also, what I didn't realize until we were talking, TerraTech. So up until about a year ago, TerraTech was the #1 revenue per quarter in the United States. Then when we started seeing like C-Web come into the conversation, TrueLeaf, there's been some others in pasta, but
Sure.
TerraTech was always right up there. Now TerraTech not only has bought out Golden Leaf and has all of their infrastructure, and they've learned through trial and error through all the different
What's
areas.
similar on TerraTech? You got TerraTech up over there, Ed?
TRTC.
TRTC.
But
Pull
what
up a
they
chart,
what they
will
just
ya?
created now though,
Draw some pictures, will ya?
TerraTech is now Canadian. They have an LP now,
Yeah.
a Canadian LP, which they never used to because Golden Leaf Holdings has a Canadian LP, a very small one.
So you're saying that
and-
TerraTech made the acquisition to get the Canadian LP?
It'd be interesting because now you're just
and-
waiting. It's due time before the United States becomes legal. Now they could be doing all the research in Canada, all the preparation, and as soon as it's go, bring all that over to the States.
Interesting.
TerraTech, by the
Speculation,
way,
though. Strict
trades
speculation.
over the counter in the U.S. Remember,
OTC?
remember
Yeah.
we interviewed the guy, and that is an exchange that's
So TerraTech is the guys that do the tissue culture. Then,
Yeah,
right?
they're the turkey for any 420 investors. People here, Alan Brockstein goes in and out of trading TerraTech a lot. It's called the turkey.
Oh,
How
really?
many times do you take a gobble and try to get try to flip
see.
it?
Yeah, this thing
so
was
that's
It's a day trade, is it?
back in the beginning of 2018. If we could put this up on the
Looking at the chart. Survey says there's that chart. Whoa, screen sketch. Here we
Sketchpad.
go.
Okay, here
We're
we
gonna start
go.
drawing
Sketcher.
too.
So
Little
look,
sketchy
and
looking,
we, you know, so
Oh, I see.
not much has happened here, as we can see. But you know what? If the thing started to really move, we talked about the bands being narrow.
Yep.
This might be a candidate.
Bands are narrow.
Yeah, and they've
Bands
done
are narrow here.
They did a reverse split a while ago.
at this.
It used to be like a.
Now they're showing a little bit of look at that volume there.
Yeah.
Wow.
It almost broke out.
Look at
It
this.
almost there's a Bollinger Band
Oh.
squeeze right there with volume, but it just got rejected.
They're on fire there.
Some X's and O's for beer.
What are
You
you,
think
drawing
they do
there?
something there? You think there was a couple of lips? It's funny, eh? When you hear news come out like a week or two later, you can look back
Yeah.
and see exactly when people started telling their friends.
And I
Allegedly and speculatively, of
look.
course.
This is. I've had direct experience, as we all have, with this over-the-counter exchange in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of bad. A lot of people don't like it. Like if you tell people, in fact, if you have a piece of paper and you want to deposit it into your account up here and you don't have a Canadian listing, a lot of brokers won't even take the paper. They'll say no, because there's been so many problems with that exchange.
Oh yeah.
So maybe this is one of the reasons why they're doing this transaction is to get off this exchange.
Well, and they'll
get a
be
Canadian
on CSC.
Yeah,
They'll be
exactly,
on CSC,
exactly.
and they'll also have an LP in Canada. I think it was really strategic, but even Golden Leaf in itself, I've always liked the company. I just didn't like the share structure, and I didn't like what management was doing beforehand. But they've got reach.
All right. So what was the symbol there, Ed? I want to see what their latest press releases are. Why?
Well, it's right here. I got it up on our website actually.
TRTC, not to be confused with the CRTC.
Is my NDI on? I've got the news release up right now.
Do you have your NDI on?
I don't know. People in the back. Is my NDI on?
Oh, you have to put it on your.
Yeah, I could do it right now. Let's see if we can do this.
Oh, I just took off all that information. Yeah, that's
All right,
nice.
you might be able to see me in the back because I have it up already, the TerraTech, because with this, they're going to have a combined company to control 41 permits across cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, and retail spanning Oregon, California, and Nevada, including an additional 21 pending permit applications in multiple jurisdictions throughout the United States.
Wow.
There it is.
So they're going to be big. Like, this is a big amalgamation.
So what did
have
they
sales.
pay?
I don't know if it went into it. I was just going over just before coming on here. I know that TerraTech is going to be the company to take over. It's going to be on. They're going to. It says somewhere along here.
It looks
that they're
like
gonna
they
be
haven't
taking
decided
over.
yet.
Wholly owned
It's-
subsidiary.
It's non-binding agreement, so it's not definitive.
Okay, so
Not
there's no
definitive
due
yet.
diligence yet. Boy, wait till these guys wade into that piece of.
Well, you know what? Wait, let's not.
So here it is. Oh, here's the metrics.
Let's not end this
LOI
transaction.
provides the Golden Leaf shareholders entitled to receive 0.1203 common shares of TerraTech for each common share of Golden Leaf held. This is the exchange ratio. TerraTech currently has 79.2 million shares outstanding. As a condition of closing, TerraTech will be required to list its shares on the CSE, getting it off of the OTC.
Well, I don't think they'll get it off because it'll
Did we not
probably
come off?
Well, they'd want to keep the U.S. symbol because in the States, there's a lot of guys who won't buy Canadian-only stocks unless it's
can't.
got a U.S. symbol, or they can't.
Just being like, so now they're on a little bit more of a, we want to call it stable. CSE's been doing pretty well over the last few years. Cannabis really changed it.
So TerraTech, 72 million shares out, $131 million market cap. Do we know how much cash they have in the bank?
I don't,
there-
actually, to be honest.
Q3 earnings should discuss their. Oh no, that's just an announcement about their upcoming conference call. But let's see. Last time they raised money. Oh, okay. No, they bought a dispensary for $6.25 million back on October 23rd. Oh, there's a prospectus filed in October 19th. Okay, so we don't really know what their cash position is presently.
No, but last quarter they had $7.2 million American in that quarter, which was up 19% quarter over quarter, year over year. So that slowed down because at one point TerraTech was right up there. They were the number one in the States. Kush Bottles was right beside them. But now companies like TrueLeaf, MedMen, Charlotte's Web, Curaleaf, Green Thumb Industries, Kushco Holdings. Okay, so Kushco is still there. CV Sciences and Tilray all beat them in the United States for US dollars.
Interesting.
And a lot of those are just new, right? They're not new, they've been around for a long time, but like Trulieve, when did we start talking about Trulieve? A month ago? 2 months ago?
Truly,
Going like mainstream?
Yeah, no, it's just recently sort of broken out from obscurity.
And it's just, well, that's the thing. They've been around, so they just got their 21st clinic in Florida. Trulieve did.
Right.
They're number one, $23.3 million, a 947% growth year over year. But they have 21 dispensaries, all medical in Florida, and they're already number one. What happens when they go recreational? If people aren't paying attention to some of these U.S. companies, they're big.
Yeah.
They're not exporting, but do you really need to export if you can have your own domestic sales?
Especially in the U.S.
It's the U.S. and they have no rules over there.
Right.
When you think of like Nevada,
Well,
or
much
California.
broader rules.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, California right now, especially, so I just spent 10 days in California.
Yeah.
And everywhere I went, there was apartment building sized billboards. There's advertising for cannabis products and cannabis vendors and cannabis brands everywhere. And it's like, you look at what's California's rules. So, I mean, there's all the edibles, all of the vapes, all of the various forms of the concentrates, the butters, the waxes, the shatters. It's like, that's all available. So if Canada is still trying to get, its head out of its derriere just to allow drinks and vape cartridges in 1 year's time, where are we going to be when the U.S. suddenly goes federally deprohibited, and we're just going to get molded over
away.
and blown out of the
I think
water?
it's an issue, right? Because even in the States, just look at their cigarette laws.
Yeah.
Compared to ours, where we have to put photos and everything. You have to hide them. You basically have to sell your soul just to be able to buy a pack of cigarettes in Canada.
Yeah.
Compared to the States, where it's already that much more loose with all that. They have such a massive advantage, and that's why I look at companies like Canopy, Aurora, that really diluted themselves, or there's a lot of money spent, and people are like, with Aurora, let's go with them, and everyone's angry, there's dilution. No. They understand how big the American economy is going to be when it comes out. They have to grow big enough so that when that fight happens, they can at least last a few rounds, if not take over some of these American companies. So they have to have that dilution.
Yeah.
So to anybody who says they hate the dilution of Aurora and places like that, I'm sorry, you're an idiot. Because they haven't been able to take out loans. This is what you need to do to be a global player, and they're going full tilt. And you're angry with that? That's why you're an investor on the sidelines and not running the company. So
Right.
I don't own Aurora or anything like that.
Well,
That's just a comment.
when it comes to dilution, there are two arguments. You've got way more currency out there. You're going to be more attractive to institutions who want to buy a huge position and sell a huge position in a single day, perhaps. So as long as your liquidity matches your total outstanding, that's not necessarily a negative. Where it starts to become questionable is if the entire enterprise value of the company is not growing at the same rate as the share distribution, then what you're actually doing is diluting the upside of the future. And so when you compare, for example, Aurora with 1 billion shares out to Canopy with 400 million shares out, then the enterprise value of both, there's more potential upside per share in the same time frame in Canopy than there is in Aurora, barring some massive explosion in enterprise value for Aurora.
Yeah.
So, I'm just saying that I understand where they're coming from. Personally, I'm more comfortable investing in a company with a tighter share structure, just because that, the risk to my upside is diminished in a tighter share structure relative to one, all other things being considered, with a much more diluted share structure.
Yeah. Well, look at Canopy too, right? When they did their dilution with Constellations, it was a good chunk of dilution, but then their share price doubled, tripled since then. So that goes to your point. If you're going to dilute, show that that's going to create more value. So now I had 1% of the company, now I have 0.5% of the company. My hope is 0.5% of that company later is more valuable than the 1% of the company I have now. So I do get that point too.
Good point.
I definitely do. But yeah, when they're talking about all this money spent on advertising or all this dilution, they've had their hands tied this entire time. And we know that companies like Trulieve, MedMen, Charlotte's Web, Curaleaf, Green Thumb Industries, they're coming.
Yep.
And they're good companies. All those companies just said that. MedMen, there's issues with their stock and all that kind of stuff. People will always talk about that. But in itself, they're making good money at least. So you have to keep an open eye to that and say, okay, you are doing something well. But when these companies are unleashed, are Canadian companies, are they going to be prepared for it? Are they going to be able, or are they just going to get swallowed up like every other industry that, for the most part, that Canada's had over the last 50 years?
Yeah.
It's tough. It's
Well,
hard.
I think it's going to be hard to deny that on the medicinal side, the industry is going to become dominated by big pharma.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where it's going to go. Anything of value in the medical space ends up in the property of big pharma. On the rec side, and in the branded consumer product side, which are more or less one and the same recreationally,
Yeah.
I think ultimately the cannabis companies are going to become subsidiaries of Constellation Brands, for example. We've already seen that. We know Coca-Cola is vehemently denying any intention to
They're
get
there.
involved, which means they're probably in active negotiation.
Yeah.
We know that AB InBev is in there. We know that Diageo has got 15 guys laying claim to some mysterious nudge, nudge, wink, wink relationship with Diageo. So I mean, it's crazy, and we haven't even really seen the large cosmetic companies in the space yet. L'Oreal, Estee Lauder. These are multi-billion-dollar companies in and of their own right, and they're going to come into the space and own the topical application side of it. So, but then you look out at the universe now in, say, cosmetics, dominated by some major global players whose feedstock of acquisition comes from small cottage industry craft growers that gain traction in a regional audience. Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this is an industry where every man, woman, child, dog, and horse is going to have cannabis in their lives in some way, shape, or form. So, it's like, as one of the favorite analogs I've heard is we're an inch into a marathon. This is the third inning. This is the second inning. And then there's others who say, no, this is a bubble who's just getting ready to blow now. Where do you stand on that?
If they're talking about a bubble ready to blow, they're only talking about stock market, and they're completely short-sighted.
What do you think, Ed?
That's only stocks.
Bubble or inch into a marathon? Okay, that's Ed.
You know what? I look at these charts daily, and sometimes I'm long, sometimes I'm short, and I look at the charts to tell me, for a change in direction. I mean, it could go on for a long time. It's possible, or it could be a bubble. And so what's the probability I assign to each probability? Maybe it's 50-50. I don't know. All I know is we just had a major haircut that ended about when you were in LA. Yeah. And now it looks like it's giddy up and go again. So if you're short, you're crying for mommy. If you're long, you're thinking, oh, finally. But the trick would have been to take some money off the table when the valuations are, after couple of months of up, it just doesn't keep going. It never does. It never will.
Never go broke taking profits.
You lighten up. Yeah. If you've doubled your money and you sold half, you still have the same money involved, but half the risk.
Well, here's a question for you guys then. We're flipping the tables over here. Pretend I'm on that side.
Who's interviewing?
I know.
Whose show is it?
Hey, you know what? Maybe the three of us should be over here, and then we should have no one over there.
You know what? We should do this show on a merry-go-round.
Let's do it. We need to spice things up. But here's the question.
How about the big wheel?
Let's not get off topic.
Here's the question, though. When it comes to these companies, we're all talking about the current companies, but we just said how TrueLeaf and Charlotte's Web and CureLeaf are coming out of nowhere. Do we think that we're all talking about bubbles right now about current companies, but most of them are growers, or they're what is the argument that cannabis is going to be a commodity? Are we looking for the new players to come out who? They're like, I don't care about a brand of cannabis. I'm going to come out and I'm going to be a retail giant.
Well, if you look at the discussion right now on our YouTube page, everybody's talking about synthetic cannabinoids, and there are a number of companies involved in that. Hyacinth on the East Coast, that's owned at this point 20% by Organigram. You've got is it Ginkgo that's owned? Don't know the ratio. That's owned by Kronos. So the LPs are making, or at least hedging their bets against the future value of plant feedstock versus synthetic feedstock. Mind you, important to remember that we're talking about cannabis here, and one of the fundamental appeals of cannabis is that it's a natural plant that anybody can grow. So there are a lot of people, when we first had this conversation, the conversation in the chat forums went very against the idea of any GMO modified source of cannabinoids, which is, that's something. And if you were to look at the supermarket and their increasing inventory of organic produce relative to conventional produce, one would deduce that in the case of the supermarket at least, there's a growing audience for organic products, and one might argue that the global impetus is towards increasing organic origin, increasingly less GMO, increasingly less pesticides and herbicides.
Well, one of the best viewed articles on our website was called, I titled it Monsanto, War on Seeds. And it was talking about Monsanto and Bayer trying to come in and starting to buy up cannabis companies because they want to take over the seed business. And they've done it for how many different, and people hated it. It was shared everywhere. People
Monsanto isn't a revered company, right?
It was crazy. And it goes along these lines, though, right? It goes along, when you think of cannabis, and you're thinking of taking away from Oxycontin and taking away from these different types of painkillers and all these drugs. Why then are we taking a natural plant that can do the trick, and we're spending money investing in synthesizing it? It completely defeats the purpose.
Okay, looking on my NDI right now, I've got a patent document up. So this is a United States government filed a patent application, or was on behalf of the United States government, a patent application was filed by Aidan J. Hampson, Julius Axelrod, and Maurizio Grimaldi from Bethesda, Maryland, for, get this, cannabinoids. So here, and this is in, look at the date here, April 21st, 1999 is the first date, and updated on February 2nd. And look, they're trying to put patents for these different cannabinoids.
For naturally growing.
Well, and this is the thing. This is one of the key issues that I think points to, and it's appropriate in midterm elections. The key dysfunctions of United States political processes is apparent in this document. Here's a country who has federally prohibited cannabis in any way, shape, or form, citing its zero medicinal value, while at the same time filing patents to protect ownership of the molecules as intellectual property of the United States government. So if you ask me, the United States is, like, this is a nation where I could see where we're going to have to intervene as a country in the future to quell what is going to become essentially civil war in the country, because the country is incapable of uniform, sensible policy because they are so conflicted. It's like living next to it's like a neighbor with bipolar syndrome, where they're nice to you one day, the next minute they're crazy, and it's like...
It's crazy. It really is crazy, because a Schedule I drug, the definition of that is that it is highly addictive, and there are no medical purposes. It's a Schedule I drug. First off, you've
just described all opiates perfectly.
There we go, and yet they're okay, guys. They're okay. You can go get them to Shoppers right now. But when it comes to cannabis, though, how can you not look at all these different studies across the entire? The UK just did, because that child, that child with epilepsy, and
Charlotte.
Was that Charlotte?
No, that was in the U.S. Charlotte Figge.
There was something in the UK.
Just recently, they had a young boy.
That's what it was, and his mother was saying, "I can't get the medicine," and it was her face plastered everywhere. When the UK said, "You know what? We're going to test this. We're going to go out with medical. I don't think you can smoke it. I think it's only in liquid form that you can consume cannabis medically. But regardless, they're saying we could see it. Go to a YouTube video and watch people shaking from Parkinson's or having a king seizure or something crazy, and they take a CBD puffer, and within a minute they're fine, and there's virtually no hangover effects. How is that no medical? It's so ridiculous that you just look at it and go, money.
Well, that's right. That's exactly. I'm sitting here thinking.
Schedule I drug.
They've printed
money.
so much money. There's so much money in the world. There's 50. This is a little off topic. I'll just say this: 50 million people in the States are on food stamps. 6 Americans have the same wealth as the bottom half of the world's population.
It's crazy.
It's insanity.
Capitalism, folks.
Well,
but not socialist either.
But you know, like, and you keep printing it, and that becomes the goal. More money, more money, more money.
You know what the issue was? When fractional banking was created. You want to go over
No, fractional banking. You're right.
That's what's true.
No,
that destroyed us. Fractional banking destroyed us.
ensures that people have to go bankrupt.
When it was an ounce of gold, or you had an actual receipt, and it was for that amount, it was backed by an actual precious metal, we were fine. Fractional banking destroyed economics as we know it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. What is fractional banking if not the original Ponzi scheme?
It's insane.
Because by its very nature, you're taking from one pile to pay off another pile of investors. It's, I know.
People say we need to pay down our debt. Like, we need to pay down the debt. You do realize if you pay down the debt, you lose all the money that you have. Debt is currency.
Yeah.
Debt is your money. So if you were to pay down your debt, you would actually screw yourself because
liability is assets.
you know, if
but at least they're printing it on interest because the federal banks are owned by personal people and not by the actual country. So they keep. Anyway.
The Fed's owned by private interests, right?
Yeah, they are.
I know, it's crazy.
Oh, we'll get started. I'll go on for an hour.
I know, I'd love to.
All right, guys, we're going to take a break
Let's take a
now
break.
because cannabis producers are popping up all over Canada, and indigenous communities are looking to get in on the action. JB Lauzon has more.
The Akwesasne First Nation Reserve is on Mohawk territory, which flanks the St. Lawrence River. The reserve is quiet, has its own pace. The streets aren't bustling, but that could all change because of one company. Seven Leaf is planting new life in this territory, led by President Lewis Mitchell.
I'm proud to say that we are 100% First Nation owned and operated. We are licensed under Health Canada's regulations, the ACMPR regulations to produce medical cannabis.
It's taken 4 years of applications for the former police chief of Akwesasne, who had the vision to become the first Indigenous medical cannabis producer licensed by Health Canada.
It was my partner, Lorraine White, who said, why not us? Why not, First Nation people getting in this industry? Why not Mohawks getting in this industry? And that was kind of like the step that we needed to take that first step, to get an application, to look at it, and to begin that long process.
Seven Leaf will be ready to start growing by the end of the year in this 3,000 square foot facility.
Our annual production is going to be 12,000 kilograms annually of dried product. When we're at maximum capacity, when all 4 phases are complete, we expect to employ 75 people full-time.
According to one important member of Mohawk Council, the production of cannabis is a natural development given his people's historic ties to the plant.
Cannabis has been, to my knowledge, around for many centuries, one could say, because if you refer back to where the Mohawk people are part of with the Iroquois Confederacy, you look at one of the nations is known as the people of the hemp. There is evidence that it's been used for medicinal purposes, for textile purposes. So it is there in our history. We just have to seek that out more. There's health benefits, a great economic opportunity. It's going to really change a lot of different areas in this community.
And the desire to get in on the business of cannabis is spreading to other Indigenous communities across the country.
A lot of interest from other First Nation governments. They've heard about us. They want to be responsible. They're looking at developing their own regulations for retail facilities, trying to control it so it's safe for their community members as well as the public.
For Midas Letter Live, I'm JB Lauzon.
Maybe you didn't want to get filled.
How about that, eh? You know that the Canadian government created a financial incentive for First Nations groups to become involved in the cannabis industry, where they get fast-tracked through the Health Canada process and they get money, which is kind of cool. Kind of cool. I'm not going to comment on that any further. So Ed, let's take a look at the market today. And
let's see where the action is. PLTH up 73 cents to 341.
Wow, PLTH. Planet 13, 341. Holy, did you hear that?
No, but we said if it shot up, is that the one we said it was? If it shot up,
I had no idea.
And TGOD was up like $1.25.
So even a turkey can fly in a hurricane, apparently.
But then others fell off.
Even a broken clock is wrong twice a day.
Like MedMen was down today.
MedMen, poor MedMen. MedMen.
TGOD 478.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing about
How'd you like to be
MedMen.
short at that at 290?
Yeah, I think you'd be pretty much wiped out unless you had really deep pockets. Well, let's just say if you had deep pockets, they'd have a few bunnies in them.
Yeah, why would you play if you're,
Yeah.
you know?
Tilray managed to close up over 101, up $1.49 on the day.
Yeah.
Valens Grow closed up 16 cents on the news that they were going to start processing all of the dried, or not all, but some of the dried cannabis for G-Tech. Now, G-Tech's one we haven't really heard a lot about. But
Hey,
we've seen
you know,
it
one
doing
of the
okay.
one of the companies that we talked about a lot,
A lot!
we you know, a month and a half ago, has had a big run.
Which one?
XRO,
X.
XRO. It's had a big
Anyways, moving right along.
run. I know, but
You gotta show Planet 13.
Planet 13, PLTH. I want to pull up a chart of PLTH on your screen there, Ed.
Okay, let's do it.
You did that already
Let's do
earlier,
it.
didn't you? Didn't you already do that?
30% today.
Yeah, it's gone up 30% today. Why is that?
okay, okay, PLTH, and what exchange is that on?
That's on the CSE.
So that's CNX on this thing.
Correct.
Okay, PLTH. Did I say CNX or CSX?
CNX.
I can never remember.
I know, it's a pain, especially for us.
Here
old
we go.
farts.
Wow. Just look, we were talking about it. We said if it surged ahead, probably going to gap big tomorrow. Probably
Wow.
going to gap big tomorrow.
Why
Look
don't
at
you
this
throw
I'm-
a 3-month on that? Like, look at that. It's way outside the Bollinger Band.
Yeah, but it off a base though, which is a different. You want to it's not as bad. For instance, here, I'll show you.
Okay, I'm going to go to sec.gov, and I want to see their financials
Okay,
because
so
this is just like...
So look there's a bit of a sideways trend there.
Yeah.
And then we broke through. We may get a bit of a pullback, but then it looks like it's going to start to ride up the band, what they call riding the band. And today's volume is the biggest volume that I show for this. Look at this. Only a couple million shares though, 2.3 million shares, still a lot, up 73 cents. Wow. Yeah, some of these things are on fire. Others are dead in the water.
Sucking hind tit.
You know,
I know.
terrible.
So what do you think? You think that it's
It's a little overdone here, but not unusually so. For instance, what's the? Why don't we have the RSI up there?
I don't know, Ed, because you don't have it set on your machine.
Really?
That would be my guess. I'm going to pull up the CDR on Planet 13, and let's take a look at their financials and see if we can figure out WTF is going on. Okay, so news release, November 1. Let's check out their latest news release, K3H8E. Okay, latest news release, Planet 13 Superstore, world's largest cannabis entertainment complex, now open in Las Vegas.
Right.
So, have you been to this? It's 40,000 square feet. That
No,
doesn't sound that
I wanted
big.
you to send me to Vegas, but you said it wasn't necessary.
Have you seen the Aurora's indoor cannabis entertainment complex? 900,000 square feet. Of course, it's not really geared towards entertainment so much as it is growing cannabis. Okay, so there's that. But what I want to look at is recently filed annual information form. We want to see just the financials. So financial statements from August 29th for the 3 months ending June 30th. So obviously the store is not going to be there, but they had $17 million in cash at the end of June.
And we're now at November, so 6 months. So if they're burning money, we can assume that that's come down a bit.
They had $4 million in revenue for the 3 months ended June 30th.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Cost of goods sold, gross
That's
profit.
up from 3
So
months.
They lost $1 million in the quarter, so they're losing $1 million. They're not losing a lot. They're losing about $1 million every 3 months.
Right. Well, obviously if they
So
just
their
built-
cash is still substantially where it is.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So one of the other great companies that we should be talking about here is the good
TGOD
old-
was flying.
Yeah, I mean ones that have fundamental basis for going. I'm talking about, of course, the Origin House. Now, I want to talk about Origin House for a minute because not only because I bought some today, but because this is a company, if you look at it over the last 5 days,
Wow.
Like, look at this stock. In 5 days, it's up 40%.
And is this the one that's only got 15 million
60%,
shares out?
sorry.
No, that's not the one that's got.
No, Canada Royalty has a grand total of 56 million shares out. But even if you look at it in the 1 month window, like look at this stock back on October 30th was 710, 650. Okay, well that's not so bad. But yeah, so this was Canada Royalty, which is one of the OH. So this is one of the first two cannabis royalty companies, along with iAnthus, to step onto the stage. Mark has evolved this thing more from a royalty and investment company now to a California-focused consumer packaged goods and retail player. And I think you're going to notice that most of the froth in this market is going to start to accumulate to the U.S. operating cannabis companies listed in Canada. And certainly we're seeing that with Canada Royalty, now called Origin House. We're seeing that with iAnthus. Let's pull up iAnthus's chart. iAnthus is now in the process of taking over MPX, and MPX is going to depart that transaction with its international opportunities intact, which Scott Boys will continue to develop. iAnthus focusing on the acquisition of the U.S. opportunities. But, you know, look at this company, $7.25 a share, and it's got licenses all over the place. They're in 15 states, dispensaries, grow operations. Total shares out, 57 million shares. Market cap, 417 million. This is one of what I think, and not just me, but our guest Todd Harrison, who was here earlier, agrees. iAnthus is one of the great opportunities, especially after the MPX acquisition. Origin House / Canada Royalty, we'll eventually refer to it as just Origin House, but it's still too fresh from that
What
transition.
was the high today? Was 777 and it closed at?
Today the high was 765.
Okay.
And it closed at 725.
Okay. Yeah, it's not exactly a real powerful close, but it's had a pretty good run.
Yeah. Yeah. But so let's see who the big winners were today on the Midas Letter indexes. If we look at the large caps, who are the big winners? Well, it was actually TGOD, up 39.9%. 40% rise in a single day, up $1.29.
Yeah, yeah.
Darn, I sold that sucker too soon today. I should not listen to my instincts sometimes.
You picked up a little pocket money.
Yeah, that's true.
Very little.
Very little, yeah. But next follower on was Organigram. You could have bought that at 5 and change yesterday or last week. Now up 8.52%, half a buck higher. Even Auxly up 8 cents to $1.05.
Even Auxly.
Even Auxly caught a bid today. Canopy Growth Corporation up 7.3%. 361. That's a pretty big move for Canopy Growth. And of course, CanTrust caught a 4% lift on 36 cents to 9.40.
Aphria only up 1%.
Yeah.
2%, maybe 1.5%.
Yep. But let's see.
go.
Now, let's look at the CSE and see where the big winners were. I think we already know the answer to that. Big winners in the CSE. Isodiol, as you've been saying, pointing out up 30%, up 63 cents to close at 273.
Yeah.
Closely followed by ChemSys, ordinary shares up 44 cents or 29% to $1.95. Planet 13 up 27%, 73 cents to 341, based on their opening of the largest cannabis entertainment complex in Las Vegas. Now I'm trying to picture what that involves. You walk in, you smoke a joint, you start gambling? Is that how that goes? You catch some can girls, maybe one of the Cirque du Soleil guys swoops in and sweeps you off your feet, I don't know. Body and Mind up 15 cents. I guess that's based on the investment by Australis. Australis took a piece of BAM today. International Cannabis Score is still up, so that deal hasn't closed yet, I guess. That's Aurora bought International Cannabis. I guess that's still trading, which means it still hasn't closed and become delisted. But those are the big ones. Even our old friends at Cannex caught a 7-cent lift today, up 10%. to 71 cents. And of course, there's Canada Royalty up 10% to $10.33, probably on my buying. No, just kidding. That would be, could you imagine having the power to move markets, Ed, with a single comment? Gosh, I can't imagine what that would be like. Small cap cannabis index. Let's see what happened in small cap land. Who is the big performer here? Well, Isodil's in there, but InMed Pharmaceuticals, I think they released their financials today. Looks like that was probably good news. Actually, you know what? I want to go check out InMed Pharmaceuticals. Whoa, what? Whoa, page not found. What are you talking about? Obviously, we have a discrepancy. Oh, that's right, because they changed their symbol. I was not thinking of InMed, actually. But look at Emblem Corp is up 17.07%, up 21 cents to $1.44 on total share volume of 1.3 million shares traded. Weed MD up 22 cents. Weed MD is going to be the first company to create a Midas Letter strain that, no, we won't be selling it. No, we won't be advertising it. But if you want to find a Midas Letter approved strain, it's going to be available at Weed MD first.
Really?
Just saying, yes. Eventually, we're going to get all of our LP friends to create a Midas Letter strain, and
Sure.
we'll soon be testing them here, Ed. Do you realize we'll soon be testing them right here?
Why do we need to wait? I guess because they haven't made them yet.
Well, and we don't have the, yeah, exactly. They haven't made the strain. It's going to take some time to breed those genetics.
It's going to take a year to get the order in too, right? Have you
Have
got
you-
your order yet?
I haven't got my order yet,
How long
Ed.
has it been?
Well, I ordered it October 17th. I was order number
3 weeks.
63,000 or something. Yeah, so 3 weeks. That's not wrong. Not long to wait. You know what? I should have gone to the black market, but you know what? Because I'm a law-abiding citizen,
Right.
finally, I decided
Finally.
to, finally, I don't even speed anymore. That's how law-abiding I've become.
Yeah.
But have you been to a cannabis retail store yet in any of the provinces in which that's allowed?
That wouldn't be Ontario, right?
That's not
I
Ontario.
haven't left Ontario, so the answer is no.
Okay, so there's very few cannabis stores in the country. Many of us have no idea what to expect. So we sent our 4 East group to Fire and Flower in Edmonton to see if it's all smoke and mirrors, and here's what they came back with.
With so few actual cannabis retail stores open in the country, many of us have no idea what to expect. We took a tour of Fire and Flower in Edmonton to see if it's all smoke and mirrors.
We've had long lineups the first few days of legalization, and we've been extremely pleased with the response. The look of the stores was developed with a wide range of demographic in mind in order to reduce the stigma of cannabis. We offer a brightly lit, welcoming environment. The customer, for the most part, have been 30 plus. Most have maybe tried cannabis a few times in their lifetime, but the majority are first-time cannabis users. And with our model on education-based training at Fire and Flower, the comments coming back are very positive that when they walk through those front doors and they approach one of our canistas or one of our canistas approach them, they're going to get all the education they need to make the proper choice when they purchase product.
Here at Fire and Flower, we call all of our shop staff canistas. So canistas are cannabis educators that are focused on curating a customer's experience. Education is one of the most important parts of what we do here at Fire and Flower. We're on a journey to educate not only our employees, our customers, and with the longer goal of educating all of society. Even if somebody wants to come in and get educated and they don't want to purchase, that's okay. We just want people to understand the history of cannabis.
We just made history. I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing necessarily right now. I mean, time will tell, but it's legal. I don't have to worry about being busted, get pulled over. And this way, it's safe. You know that they have guidelines that they follow. And that's one of the big, I think, motivators for me.
I think there was a skew of people because I think there was a larger group that maybe knew exactly what they wanted when they came in, so they only would buy 1 or 2 different strains. And then I think the other side of it is customers that really were curious, and we have 6 different effects on the strain wall, and a lot of them were buying from 4 different categories. So that's what we were seeing a lot of, is people just being really curious and wanting to experiment. I definitely think people are here to, be purchasing cannabis, but we were surprised to see how many people were still interested in a lot of the accessories, being, I'd say, vaporizers were some of the hot sellers, as well as it makes sense, grinders, so that was a top seller as well.
Our goal in Canada would be in the neighborhood of 250 to 300 locations as a starting point, and continue growth as opportunities exist in each municipality or province. So the sky's the limit as far as opening locations.
That's quite the quite the operation. Have you been to Planet 13 in Las Vegas? Should we go next week, Ed?
It's big
something.
Everybody's going. Well, not everybody's going.
Not everybody.
I'm not going.
We might. That's what I'm saying. Do you want to go for a drive? Little road trip down to Vegas?
Check out the.
Actually, that would be fun. Let's rent a vehicle and go for a road trip.
Hoover Dam.
The Hoover Dam. We'll pass right through.
Hoover. So look, we've got a lot of action again, and let's see if this action carries through.
I want to see who's the biggest trader on the venture here. Go to index page. Here we go. Okay. Emblem is the big winner on this TSX of all the TSX venture listed companies, up 17%, 21 cents to $1.44. Been a long hard slug for Emblem. They lost quite a bit of their value, but now coming back in a big way. Weed MD we already talked about. Harvest One Cannabis Inc. Cannabis. See, I'm having this Freudian slip where in my future mind.
That's the name of your documentary, isn't it?
No, but we're gonna lobby Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to change the name of the country to Canada. What do you think about that? And we'll become Canadians. Canadians, which means people will say, "Hey, do you know anything about cannabis?" I'll be like, "Hey, cannabis is my nationality." But Organogram's there. National Access Cannabis Corp is there. Acasti Pharma, Supreme up 10%, or up 6.17%, 10 cents to $1.72. Yeah, lots of action in the bulletin. Look at that,
there's
all
some
green.
Really good action here.
Well, not all green. It's mostly green. Who are the losers here? Vaxil Bio, never heard of them. 4 cents. Sounds like they're having a struggle. Blockstrain Technologies, 22 cents, down 10%. They're only 20 center though. Avivagen.
Blockstrain Technology,
10%.
yeah.
Oh well, so there's, as in most things, Ed, there will be winners and there will be losers.
Right.
Which are you going to be?
Well, I'm going to be a winner.
I'm going to be a winner chicken dinner today too, because I bought Origin House, which is former Canna Royalty, and I bought iAnthus, and they're both closed. Actually, they closed down a bit, but I'm still up on the day. Hip hip hooray, up on the day.
Hip hip hooray, up on the day.
There's our new anthem. Okay, now let's step away from the cannabis space for just 1 second. I want to talk about gold and some of our, so now let's look at the most actives, and this is interesting. Here we are looking at the CSE on our NDI. Whoa! So, of course, on the CSE, the top 3 companies in terms of volume are cannabis companies, but Spearmint Resources, this has become a vanadium play. Got a boatload of shares out.
Yeah. Golden Leaf, is that the one that's doing the transaction with those guys in the States?
Yes.
And that's the company that our friend's involved with, isn't it?
TerraTech. No.
Golden Leaf.
Nope, we have no friends at Golden Leaf.
Yeah, no, aren't they the ones involved in Oregon or something?
Yes.
Yeah, well, you know who's got a big position in this.
Who? No, I don't. I have no idea.
Yeah, I believe.
But anyways, TSX Venture, this is interesting. So Aleafia Health is in there. They gained 3.36% today. But look at numbers 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, and 4 are mining companies. 5 is Namaste, who rose 3 cents.
Yeah.
Pure Point Uranium is number 6.
Yeah.
Chiron's number 7. They added 17 cents today, up 10%.
Right.
Oxley Cannabis is there. Hash Chain Technologies.
Yeah.
Look at that. 5 cents. You want to see a sorry-ass chart? Let's look at this one. Let's see what happens.
Sorry-ass chart.
Yeah. No, I'm going to chart, and let's go to the, let's go 1 year just to make the pain maximum. Look at that chart. Hash Chain, now this is the aftermath of the blockchain hype in the Canadian market.
Yeah.
Every company that has blockchain or Bitcoin or crypto in its name, but for a very few, have a chart that looks just like this.
That's correct.
That's a correction.
That's called annihilation.
That is destruction and frustration. Anyways, going back to our audience here, where did it go? What the hell?
Yeah, I didn't get involved in that whole bubble, and we could call it a bubble now.
Boil and trouble. Oh man, when you want to go to YouTube and say hello to some people, or actually not really hello, but we want to say goodbye to some of the people. So I want to say a big thank you to Brandon Colwell, who helped us out on the other side of the anchor desk from Follow the Money Investor Group, FTMIG.com, also on Facebook at Follow the Money Group. I want to say a big thank you to Todd Harrison from CB1 Capital. Joined us from New York earlier today. That was great. And of course, I want to thank our friends at 4 East, who did a fantastic job bringing us those 2 segments today. And that is our show for today. We'll be back tomorrow with a whole bunch of great guests, some great content from 4 East Cap, 4 East Media, and a whole bunch more analysis. So thank you very much for joining. Don't forget to subscribe and share.